working because she's an absolute saint. But we're driving here. We're about, I don't know, 40 minutes away from being home, and DeAndre Hopkins news drops, and we've got, potential Saquon Barkley news brewing, and then we've got Evan Ingram signing his extension, his 3-year contract extension, making him pay just slightly under Kittle. But now we have DeAndre Hopkins dropping his contract news right now, or news wires are dropping it right now, and he's signing a 2-year deal. Incentives could kick him up to about 15 mil. Looks like it's about 12 mil. More details coming, but this is kind of what we expected over the last couple weeks or a week. This is something that we thought would be possible. There's talk about KC. There's talk about Buffalo early on, and the last week or two, as I've mentioned several times on the last few shows before we hit the Vegas, that the lean was Tennessee. The Tennessee had their grip on him a little tighter than everybody else. This is where Ron Navy wanted him to originally go, right, Ron? And this is a place where he does the least amount of damage to other players in fantasy football. So this is a really, really good signing in terms of not impacting Dalton Kincaid, in terms of not impacting Kadarius Toney, going somewhere where he could probably still be pretty efficient. It isn't the place that is the best for him and his fantasy value, but it certainly isn't the worst place to go because they will be playing from behind, throwing the football. It doesn't really impact Dalton Kincaid too much. And in fact, it probably helps Dalton Kincaid because if Dalton Kincaid was a player that was playing, and I know you guys love Treylon Burks, but he's very unproven. Treylon Burks isn't proven anything. And so in my opinion, Hopkins going to Tennessee, I don't care that it impacts Burks because I'm not big on Burks, but it probably allows Chig Okonkwo the ability to navigate all over the field without any sort of defensive attention or scheming against the guy. And Chig Okonkwo is potentially. I'm doing a video later today or tomorrow on the tight ends, talking about Evan Ingram signing his contract, his long-term deal, and where he falls in the pecking order of tight ends walking into 2023. And Chig Okonkwo and Cole Kmet and Dalton Kincaid are the 3 tight ends you want to grab in 2023 if you want to go late tight end shopping and get yourselves probably a top 5 tight end. I believe a top 5 tight end is hiding in Chig Okonkwo, Cole Kmet, and Dalton Kincaid. Every year, a tight end outside the top 10 creeps right into the top 5. I believe that is this scenario right here with Chig Okonkwo, Cole Kmet, Dalton Kincaid. So I believe that this signing helps Chig Okonkwo. It doesn't help Treylon Burks. It isn't the best spot for DeAndre Hopkins, but it's not the worst spot for DeAndre Hopkins. He will get enough targets. They'll be playing from behind. I don't love the quarterback situation. We have seen, A.J. Brown still thrive in Tennessee. So as much as I hate Tannehill, from a fantasy perspective, it is a situation where Hopkins can get a little bit of production. Won't be as good as it could have been in other locations, but it does the least amount of collateral damage to Kadarius Toney, Kincaid, and all these other players that we have more invested in. So I'm not highly super crazy invested into Hopkins, Burks. I'm very invested into Okonkwo. Again, I think it helps Okonkwo. So this is a very good signing. Doesn't hurt anything. We're awaiting Barkley news. We're awaiting, a couple other pieces of news I think that could hit today or tomorrow. But Barkley, I believe, will sign in the 11th hour. I truly believe that this is a situation where Saquon Barkley is sitting here waiting to sign his long-term deal. He's waiting for the best possible offer, and it's on the table. The Giants want to bring him in. This is different than Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs he's not getting a long-term deal. He knows he's not getting a long-term deal. The Raiders had never had intentions of giving him a long-term deal. And while anything could happen, we don't truly know what's happening behind closed doors. I believe the Giants very much want Barkley back. The Giants have put an offer on the table. Saquon Barkley is going to walk in. Did I say Barkley? I meant Barkley. Saquon Barkley is going to walk in the 11th hour or the last minute, and I believe, and I could be wrong on this. This is just my gut feeling, along with some things that I hear. But I believe he's going to go in the 11th hour, sign the best deal that was given to him, because he does not want to go into next offseason at 27 years old without a long term deal. He does not want to walk into another offseason or another season with the ability to get injured and try and work his way back and try and sign an extension during an ACL recovery off season. He can't afford to do that at 27 years old next year when he's 27 looking for work. So I think he's going to sign this deal. We'll have more news to come, but let's talk about Hopkins. This is about Hopkins right now. Let me go to the top. We got 120 of you in here. Punch that thumb up button. Ron Navy and Dude, first in the building. Appreciate you. Sick Nasty, appreciate you. They took long enough, says D Class. Absolutely. Yeah, breaking news. Of course, we're going live. Appreciate you guys. How we doing? What's going on? Wade, appreciate you. What about Jacobs? Jacobs isn't going to get a deal. I don't think he's getting a deal at all. What's going on? Isaac, appreciate you all here. All right, so hit me with your questions. I'm going to go back to the bottom. Just got Chase at number 4. Great job, Matt O in the building. Terry Roberts in the building. D-Town, correct, brother. What's D-Town saying? 12. Let's go up and see what D-Town. Now the number 1 corner will be on Hopkins and moving Burks. Yeah, Burks could have more room to navigate, but I think that's more about Conquo. Like, think about Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet, if we're talking about, should a player be able to literally consume all of the quarterback's targets and become a monster in a situation with no wide receivers? And I'm not saying Burks he's better than that, but I mean, look at Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet didn't do what we wanted or hoped he could do, being the focal point of, Fields' attack. That entire room got hurt, that wide receiver room, and Cole Kmet didn't have the ability to do what I think he's going to do this year with DJ Moore stretching the field. The tight end's going to get a certain amount of target share, especially someone like Chigakonkwo, who they design plays around Chigakonkwo. I don't think people realize that Chig had so many play designs for him, designed specifically for him by this coaching staff. Chigakonkwo, he's got it all packaged in. His target share isn't going anywhere. And to be able to draw defensive attention away from Chig, he's going to absolutely explode. So this is actually good news for Chigakonkwo, which I will talk about in the tight end video that I'm going to do maybe today or tomorrow. But to the moon. This is sending Chigakonkwo to the moon. Chigakonkwo, Kincaid, these are probably the only 2 guys that I would be comfortable enough putting on the Moonman list. And we've talked about Chig quite a bit. And so that's going to be potentially coming. Ron Navy dropping a $20 holler. We were all in the Mars Man, Moon Man room talking about this when you go live in here. That's funny. Tell Ron hi. That's a $20 holler from Ron Navy. Now, Miss Navy, can we hit the horn? Or Miss Navy. Miss Smitty, can we hit the horn for Mr. and Mrs. Ron Navy? Go ahead, punch the horn. There we go. Look, that was our way of doing some sort of solution, Miss Navy. All right, Hopkins to the Titans. Let's go. Okay, appreciate you all. Titans. Terry Roberts in the building. 1 down, 1 to go. Smitty, hope you're having a blast. I was. I'm so tired. My brain's freezing. I can't even speak. I'm on pretty little sleep, but we're doing it live. Miss Smitty photo blast. I don't know. Miss Smitty doesn't want to be on camera. She's like, no. Okay, Pat's down. Pats aren't going to have a great year. Sorry. I mean, they could be okay, but they're not going to have a great year. How is Miss Navy, by the way, Ron? Hopefully, Miss Navy's doing good. Thank you, appreciate you. Rise above, Patriots, RIP for sure. Josh Jacobs about to get traded. Nope, he's not. I don't think so, pal. That's not going to happen. Uh, what else we got? Terry Roberts, thank you for the super chat. Ron Navy, thank you for the super chat. Sky Moore, ADP, about to skyrocket. Maybe. I mean, this is great for Kadarius Toney. I mean, anybody worried about Hopkins coming to KC? Now Kadarius Toney probably climbs up a little bit. I imagine Kadarius Toney climbs up about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 draft slots, maybe a round. She just wants to get treatment and get out of this. Yeah, get it out of her body. All right, Ron. We're thinking of you, pal. We're thinking of you and Miss Navy. Running into a wall in the 7th round, 10-man league. This is overcome with a $10 hauler. London, Watson, Ayuk, Pacheco, Madison usually sitting there. I'm going Watson, London, ... Pacheco, ... Madison, Ayuk. Just to give you a sense of tier break. Smitty, Matthew Berry has D-Hop at wide receiver 13, just behind Olave. Burks severely impacted, though. Yeah, I mean, look, you think Burks is going to be an elite wide receiver? I mean, not you, but anybody. He's not. I mean, you can't be an elite wide receiver when you're already doubted by me, and now you go into a situation where you're the wide receiver 2 and really the third receiving option. As I mentioned, they're designing plays like crazy for Chigakonkwo. He's the number 2 pass catcher in Tennessee. Hopkins is the number 1, and Tannehill can't throw enough to really even feed Hopkins to my liking, even though it's going to be enough. You know, he's going to wet his beak, but I mean, he's not going to explode or be a top 5 to 10 wide receiver, Hopkins, most likely. I mean, he could be borderline 10. Like, could he finish his 10, 9, 11? Yeah, but definitely not, Ron Navy to the moon. All right, Smitty, thoughts on St. Brown and Gibbs stack? I love it. I love it. And I took Gibbs in the 3rd round in the Scott Fish Bowl live Vegas draft. You can go watch that on my YouTube. It's the 3-hour video of the 5 that I did from Vegas. And I took him there because it's not only is it PPR, you know, and I believe that Gibbs is catching 70 passes this year, 65 plus minimum. I think it's also a quarter point per carry. Every carry Gibbs gets, which some people are saying, Smitty, you're saying that Gibbs is more valuable in this format. Well, Gibbs is only going to run for like 800, 900 yards or whatever. He's not running. Yeah. And the other time he's not getting his 0.25 per carry, he's getting 1 full point per reception. So it didn't matter. Running into what's this super chat here? We got a super chat. That was overcome. So YouTube's acting weird. I think YouTube's chat is weird. It's got that glitch that they haven't fixed yet. Hopkins or T. Higgins? Give me T. Higgins. Yeah. Or would you draft Hopkins in a draft? Now it's a great question. I'd probably say I'm comfortable after Debo and, of course, London and Watson. And I think around DJ Moore, above DJ Moore or right at DJ Moore, I'm drafting London. I'm drafting I'm drafting Watson. I'm drafting Walker at running back. I'm drafting Fields. And he's in the 5th round. So I think what this is telling you, if I'm telling you I'm drafting Fields in London over Hopkins, and he kind of belongs in the bottom of 4, not in 3. I'm not drafting Hopkins in round 3. He doesn't have the quarterback support or situation to be above London or Watson. He's got the quarterback situation to be good is the quarterback situation to be in all of our bottom of round 4, top of round 5. Like maybe where you're drafting Alexander Madison, maybe where you're drafting potentially, like I said, Fields, but I'm taking Fields, I'm taking London, I'm taking Watson, I'm contemplating taking like a Pacheco or someone like that, but that's where he belongs. Pacheco, Madison, DJ Moore, and if you want to put him above all of those guys, I understand. But because I'm drafting Fields, and unless I already got Burrow, or already got Hurts, or already got a quarterback, then I could go Hopkins there. Hopkins would be my lowest end wide receiver one you could find. Um, and what that means is that he's around 10, 11, 12, right? So if I'm sitting here and I've waited on a wide receiver, a punted wide receiver rounds 1, 2, and 3, and I went, let's say I went Bijan, and then in round 2 I went let's call it Brees Hall. In round 3, I went let's say Jalen Hurts fell, or I took Mark Andrews, and in round 4 I took Joe Burrow, or I took Hurts in 3, and then I'm getting there to the bottom of 4. All the wide receivers are gone. All the wide receivers are gone. Debo's gone. Watson, London's gone. That's where my emergency. He's the final 11, 12 ranked wide receiver, the lowest of the wide receiver ones you can find, and that's where I value him. So could I draft a Kelsey round 1, a Brees Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, Joe Burrow, and Hopkins? Yeah, I could do that all day long because I'm late wide receiver 1 shopping. But do I want Hopkins anywhere near my top 8 wide receivers, top 9 wide receivers? No, he's outside the top 11, 12. Um, and to be honest, I think I could probably find a wide receiver I like better in round 4 anytime I'm in round 4. So maybe he's more of a round 5 guy. You know what I'm saying? Would I rather have Burks or Pickens? Pickens by a mile, Matt. Matt, I'd rather have Pickens over Burks if Hopkins wasn't in Tennessee. Pickens by a big stretch. Hopkins has thrived with no QB in his whole career. I mean, Jeff, he had Watson. He had Kyler. I mean, let's say he didn't have no QB, but like you mean in spots has he? Yeah. I mean he's an amazing player. He's also getting older though. I don't know if we can just continue to say extend. Oh, every year he's going to be able to keep doing it. He's getting older. Got Hopkins for $4 in an auction. That's absolutely crazy. So you're saying Hopkins is about a late 4th round, Smitty? Yeah, top of 5 is a little better, but you probably won't get him there, which is why I won't own him. I don't think I'm going to own him going forward. I think his value is going to climb a little too high. I don't think Tennessee's the best. It's good, but it's not the best landing spot. But, we didn't want him to go in the best landing spot because we didn't want Kadarius Toney or Dalton Kincaid or guys we're heavily invested in to end up getting impacted. And if anybody's wondering why I'm not in my studio, it's because I'm still driving back from Vegas. We're still in mountain territory, but we're getting closer, and the drive is definitely smooth, and we're almost back. But I didn't want to wait until I got back because my job's to go live when news breaks. We already had the Ingram news break, and I was like, well, I can wait on this extension or this long-term deal that he inked and get back into the studio. But once this Hopkins news dropped, I knew I had to get in here and just do it live. So here we are. 150 of you in here. Punch that thumb up button. Only 62 of you have wiped your feet at the front door. Pickens over Burks and JMO for me personally, says Brian. Honestly, I'd take Jameson Williams over Burks. Yeah. I know not a lot of Burks believers want to hear that. And right now, Burks truthers are going to find the silver lining here, and I don't blame you. So, if you need a virtual shoulder to cry on, we're here for you. But Burks is not going to thrive with Hopkins and Okonkwo gobbling up, scooping up in droves the target share in an offense that doesn't have the ability to literally feed 3 big dog pass catchers. So Burks is going to fall to the wayside. But Burks is definitely a decent player. I liked him coming out of college. He's been disappointing. He's got the breathing issues and things that could potentially reemerge. what happened last year. Doesn't feel like he's on the right track, and so I'm definitely not. Um, yeah, iTunes Store isn't processing super chats now. They're having problems. Says Ron Navy. Really? Um, Maybe because I'm traveling right now. I don't know. Try it again in a minute. Wait, what's the Ingram news? He signed a 3-year contract extension, or a 3-year deal, not extension, a 3-year deal instead of getting that $11 million franchise tag. The same thing that Barkley's waiting on. Henry to the moon, says Josh. Hey, this does help Henry, Derrick Henry. We haven't talked about that yet. Derrick Henry, I still believe, is a huge injury risk, but if you're wanting to take the gamble and you get him line in the sand, 3rd round, I'm okay with that. I'm fine with Derrick Henry in 3rd round territory. I've always told you guys, you bake in enough risk, I can get behind any player, even if they're a player I'm avoiding in previous years. Derrick Henry is eventually going to fall off, and I don't want to be left holding the bag, and I don't want any of you left holding the bag. But at 3rd round value, it's a very different story to tell in the 3rd round than in the 1st round with Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry in the 3rd round, this is great news for anybody that wants to draft Derrick Henry in a couple leagues, not a lot of leagues. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, but we're definitely okay with Derrick Henry. Here's the mountains. Here's a bus. All right, here we go. Henry going for 2,000 yards again. I doubt that, Brandon. A.J. Brown went off with Tannehill. They finally replaced A.J. Brown. I'm glad he didn't sign in New England. It says peanut butter and waivers. Yeah, New England would have been the worst spot, because not only would have been bad for it would just been bad because he wouldn't have been able to be utilized. It would have been like shooting a blank. You know, it would have been like blowing up a balloon and then just letting it out the window and letting it fly away. Henry, no change. I think it helps Henry. But hey, we're here to debate it, and you can definitely have an opinion on it. If you don't think it helps him at all, I think it definitely helps him. I think stretching the field helps. I don't think Hopkins is taking, like, Henry can't survive getting all the carries and doing all the work. 13 plus touchdowns rushing for Saquon Barkley if he signs. Absolutely think a big year is awaiting Saquon. I will say the rushing touchdowns are the only category that still feel very vulnerable with Danny Dimes, because he's such a vulture machine. But in Dable's offense, with the way that I think the Giants will be set up this year to really turn heads and be that surprise team, Giants could be really the Lions from last year. And really, they kind of already were last year. But I think Barkley, even with Danny Dimes and his tendency to vulture touchdowns from Saquon, I think we're really, really, really going to see Quan get 10 plus touchdowns, 1,400. I think he gets a solid amount of I would say like somewhere around 1,800 total yards, 1,850, totally doable for Saquon. I think Saquon will be in the running for the league leader in rushing yards with Bijan Robinson. I think those are two of the 3 or 4 or 5 names that will be competing together to be the league's rushing leader in 2023. Barkley most certainly will be in the top 5. And Barkley doesn't need a new deal. Like, I forget who said that right there. Barkley doesn't need a new deal to become the rushing leader, because he'll be balling out to get a new contract. He'll be trying to do what Jacobs did last year and not get franchise tag going into it, though. And the truth is, Saquon could get tagged, or he's tagged this year now, but he could play on the tag this year, and he'll be playing on the tag on Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern. If he does not sign a long-term deal with the Giants, he's on the franchise tag for the whole year. No ifs, ands, or buts. There's no redoing it. There's no long-term deal awaiting him a day from then, a couple days from that point. He is locked in to the $10.1 million franchise tag amount once 4 p.m. hits. So holding out, there's no reason to hold out anymore. If Saquon Barkley is forced to essentially sign that franchise tag tender of $10.1 million at 4 p.m. tomorrow, holding out would essentially just be him saying, "I'm frustrated. I don't want to come in yet. I'm going to make you guys wait, and then I'm going to come in before I and sign the deal before I get fined. He's at a certain point, certain date, he will need to sign it. It will become his contract, and he shows up and he plays ball. And then next year he tries to get his long-term deal, like say, Russian leader. He's going to try and be the Russian leader, then walk into 2024 and do what Jacobs wanted to do. Now the Giants could technically franchise tag him again, but it's going to be at about 120% the franchise tag amount. So very unlikely that he will be franchise tagged twice in a row. Lev Bell, I believe, was the only running back to be franchise tagged twice in a row, and that was when he held out after that. So could he potentially get franchise tagged again? Yeah, but he'll be playing for a new contract. I doubt he gets franchise tagged twice in a row, and I do doubt that he actually plays on the tag because I think he's going to get his long-term deal before 4 p.m. tomorrow. That's what I'm predicting. That's kind of what I would say that I've heard whispers about, although I've heard, to be fair, whispers about both sides, that they're not going to get a deal done. But what I heard and what I believe to be true is that he's walking in and he's going to sign the deal that's sitting on the table right now that he's neglecting to sign because he's trying to hope that by 4 p.m. tomorrow they say, hey, Quan, we'll give you another mil. We'll give you another mil. That's all he wants is another milli. But if they don't bring him another mil, that deal's sitting there with a nice tall glass of milk, a couple chocolate chip cookies, and a nice pen sitting right on top of that paper. And he's going to walk in, sign it, and slam a milk and get right to work. Some Maine milk from Trevor Lawrence. We heard Trevor Lawrence is going to be providing that to all the new contract signees. And who knows, Quan might be growing out his mane. So appreciate you all. Isaac, Jawan is a curious case. Yeah, I like Taysom Hill better. Maybe Hopkins opens up the field for Chig. Exactly what I talked about earlier. Peter, watch the entire show. Chig is going to explode, which I've tried to tell Steve and everybody to be patient with my Chig Okonkwo video. And if Steven comes in here and says something about how he told me about Chig Okonkwo or something like that, when I've been telling him to be patient, I'm going to send him on a lap. I'm going to take away his Bijan card, and we're going to take away his Chig Okonkwo card, which is going to break his heart because I know he likes him. Hurts number one QB this year. Very well could be. Thank you, Gabriel, for the $2 hauler. Overcome with a $2 hauler. Super chat on Kamara. Send another $10 super chat on Kamara. Let me go look for that. Hold on. I'm sorry about that. I didn't see it. Let's go. Let's go find this $10 hauler that I somehow missed when I was rambling and didn't see it. How far reach on Kamara knowing he isn't facing harsh punishment? Round 7 feels great. Thank you, Overcome, for dropping that $10 hauler, my man. If we're wearing a bunch of cars around us that I've missed, Smitty, honk that horn one more time as my way of celebrating your $20 mashed potato super chat drops that you just did combined there with the $20. I think 7th round feels great. I still think 7th round feels great. Circa Las Vegas liked my comment. That's awesome, Rock Out. They've been reposting. First of all, they've been reposting everything I've done. Circa, Stadium Swim. But not only that, they did their own social media videos on the whole thing. So it was great to see them taking care of us, appreciating us, their marketing team filming us and putting us on their social media. And Aaron if Aaron's watching right now, Aaron from Circa Stadium Swim. This guy is the marketing manager for the entire Stadium Swim. He hung out with us. He was drafting in the Scott Fish Bowl this year. He drafted Mahomes in the first round. He drafted Kadarius Toney around 10. We had a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. But Aaron's an absolute stand-up dude. And him and I are going to be in talks about creating a 2024 Smitty ball, okay, where I'm going to have the requirement to get in. You know how at a nice restaurant, you got to wear a suit jacket? If you show up to a nice restaurant, they're like, sir, we can't let you in unless you have a jacket, but we can provide one for you. Here it is in our coat room. And they give you a jacket. I think our 2024, if we do this, Smitty Ball 2023 is going to require a cane. And if you don't bring a cane, you can't get in. Maybe I'll provide canes for you, but we'll be walking around Circa with canes everywhere. I can just see it now. But that will potentially be in the works. It's going to take a lot of doing, but my goal will be to get with Aaron and say, how do we do a 2024 Smitty fantasy football, ball? a ball for the ages. You're going to the ball Cinderellas, and you're going to have a blast. So uh, get ready for it. Um, and by then we're gonna have like 40K, 35K, whatever, on the channel. And so, we're gonna have a lot bigger reach. I mean, the fact that and we got 20, we got almost 20K here, okay, and I've got about, what do I have, 17, almost 17K on Instagram. As nice and as big as that is, right? That's a lot of people. Um, it is hard with a around 20K YouTube to go to an event and get a handful of people, to show up. And we did. Imagine how many people are going to show up from the community. They're going to fly out like Veda did. Veda flew out from DC. Uh, Denny, who I didn't see again after he vanished again. Denny flew out from Boston. We had Wasabi come by who was local. We had two, three, four other people come by. We had two or three other people that traveled to come by. Like, to get over the course of the whole event, to get double digit people to actually travel to Vegas to hang out with me is awesome. Like, that's just an awesome feeling, and I appreciate everybody that made the trip. I can only imagine, after seeing how much fun it would be, even if we had 20K, how many people would make a point to go next time. And if we're sitting at 35, 40K, we're gonna have more reach. We're gonna have probably two drafts full of people that show up to get out there to draft, and two side by side drafts with draft boards up. So I can't wait to maybe do this in 2024 when we're even a lot bigger and we can get a lot more people out there. But it's gonna be absolutely phenomenal. Thank you, D Town. Appreciate you. Yeah, we'll come up with a name later. The Cane Ball, the Smitty Cane Bash. I don't know. What are we doing? Oh, we're getting close. Okay, we're getting close here. I got to get off. Um, I'll be live probably a little bit later, I imagine, or doing the tight end update video, and so look for that. Rockout says Aaron is a marketing machine. He absolutely is. Rockout, appreciate you. Thank you for your super chat. Rockout, Circa liked his comment, and then I think the last super chat I had was the $20 hauler from Overcome, the $2 hauler from Gabriel, the $2 hauler from Overcome, talking about his $10 hauler, and then Rockout dropping those back-to-back doubles. Hit that like button on the way out the door. 170 viewers still in here. I'll stay on for a couple more seconds here, or at least a minute. But like it on the way out the door. 170 of you in here. Punch that thumb up button. We're almost at 100. What do you think about Hopkins? Drop it in the comments of this video. Do you think Hopkins is going to be a top 12 wide receiver? Do you see him as maybe the highest of the high-end wide receiver twos? Meaning you would never draft him as your wide receiver one unless you punted wide receiver through 3-4 rounds and he was still sitting there. Or he's sitting there at 5.1, and you take Hopkins at 5.1. Let's say you got the number one overall pick, okay, and you take Jamar Chase, and then you go with back-to-backs in round 2 and 3. You go, Brees Hall and Jalen Hurts or something like that. You're able to get lucky with one of those quarterbacks. And then let's say in round 4, you do something with, like, I don't know, Mark Andrews. You do something crazy at running back. Maybe you get Gibbs. He falls at 4. At 5.1, if you got the number one overall pick, you got the 1.1, you got the 5.1. Are you taking Hopkins there with a smile on your face? I want to know what you guys think, but definitely, if I had to break it down, Derrick Henry, this helps Derrick Henry. Treylon Burks, there's no way in hell this helps Treylon Burks. I'm sorry, it doesn't. It doesn't. Maybe it makes him. Maybe he wouldn't have done well at all, with the pressure, and maybe this helps him be efficient though. Like a decent wide receiver 4-5. He's not a high-end wide receiver 3. You can't have a high-end wide receiver 3. A high-end wide receiver 3 develop as a number 2 wide receiver and third pass-catching option on the Tennessee Titans. You're just not going to see it. Burks is going to be inconsistent. It doesn't help him. Okay, it doesn't help him, although I don't know that he would have been a success story as the number 1. This doesn't hurt Okonkwo. It probably only helps Okonkwo, because now this guy who's got design plays for him, just handfuls of design plays for him, now gets to roam around with mismatched coverage, and they're going to keep feeding him. and he's got a baked in, almost guaranteed amount of production and target share. It's almost like think of it like a pie, okay? Target share is a pie. And when you start cutting the pie up and dividing out the target share, Okonkwo is getting the same piece of pie that he would have got whether Hopkins stayed or left. I think his piece of pie was getting cut out in advance by the baker, saying this is Okonkwo's piece. Okay, now who's left over? Now is it Burks only? Okay, is it Hopkins and Burks now? Okay, that pie has already been cut up, and Okonkwo is going to deliver and be an absolute boss in 2023. I will see you all later. Please leave your comments, not just in the live chat here, but leave your comments and predictions for Hopkins in the video comments once I hit end, and it starts off with 0 comments. I want to know your thoughts on Hopkins. All right, I'll be in the studio a little later. Thank you for all the super chats you guys dropped.